My guest tonight is one of the toughest and most intense competitors to ever set foot on the pitcher's mound. After starting his career with the Boston Red Sox in 1984, William Roger Clemens would go on to pitch for 24 seasons, winning a record 7 Cy Young Awards, 2 World Series titles, and amassing 4,672 strikeouts, placing him 3rd all-time. But before he became an 11-time All-Star, did you know he loved watching Bonanza? Started practicing his autograph as a 3rd grader. Once assumed the role of bat boy early in his pro career. Well, tonight we'll learn what makes this undeniable icon who he is. A man who once said, "My only day off is the day I pitch." Please welcome the Rocket, Roger Clemens.
Thank you.
That's your seat, buddy. Your story, this story of Roger Clemens is absolutely fascinating. You were born in 1962 in Dayton, Ohio, in a household that had a lot of love in it, but was an interesting one. So take us back to what it was like growing up in that house.
Well, it starts my backbone and my tenacity and things that I learned from 2 strong-willed women, my mother and my grandmother. Yeah, thank you. My dad, who my mom married, Woody Boer, who raised me, I call him, that's my dad. He's the one that raised me. He was there for me.
And to tell the story, your mom and dad had separated, and the person you knew as your father was Woody. You and your brothers and sisters loved this man.
Yeah, that's my dad. Yep.
He did everything for you.
Yep. I didn't know you were going to have a picture of him.
Well, it's good to know that as you honor your mom and your grandma, there was a man there that helped shape you and create, the young Roger Clemens.
Yeah, I didn't want to tear up. So he was the best. I mean, I watched him work extremely hard. He came home once or twice a week with a gallon of ice cream. I do remember, I heard you earlier, I could hear you in the back. We watched Bonanza. He would let, if everybody saw me pitch, I kind of had this growth. Even with the Yankees, Joe Torre would get on me a little bit that he'd come up and grab my...
They're not supposed to have facial hair with the Yankees.
We're not supposed to have facial hair, but I didn't shave in between starts to honor him. And because he would come home with his 5 o'clock shadow and get me in the basement and rip my shirt up and tickle my stomach with his whiskers, So those are fond memories that I have. I watched him take him away in the ambulance when he had his heart attack, and that was the last time we saw him. And then my mother just took over. I mean, as strong as a lady she is, and of course my grandmother too. When he passed, my grandmother grabbed me and whispered in my ear. She says, "You're going to have to be much of a man at a very early age." And
this happened when you were 8.
Yeah, they were strong. I mean, I watched my mother work 3 jobs so I could have the best pair of cleats that the rich kid down the street had, and I had a red glove. I thought I was the hottest ticket in town. I had a jersey. Played a lot of my games in blue jeans like I have on today, but so it was fun. I mean,
but that's all you had, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's all
your
we had.
mom was scraping everything together.
My mother didn't. She worked in 3 jobs in Houston. I helped my mother vacuum buildings at night. She would clean up office buildings at night, and I would go help her just because I didn't want her to be alone, but also I wanted to help her so the evening would go faster for her. She could come back home.
But there's a story where you come home, your mom is crying in the kitchen because they turned the electricity off.
Yeah.
And she didn't have enough. She said, "We're going to have to wait until my check comes in and I get paid for us to get the electricity back on."
It was when I was 9 or 10 years old. Obviously, I didn't know the situation. I knew our electricity was off. I didn't know how devastating it was at the time because I'm a kid. But I could see the heartache and disappointment in my mother on how she felt working so hard. So, yeah, I made the comment that, Mom, I'm going to make it, and you're never going to have your electricity turned off again.
And that was also at the time, Roger, where your sister told me anything that wasn't moving, you were signing your autograph to. And she said they went back to where you guys grew up, and in the house, behind some board is your autograph from 3rd grade.
She's correct. I did. I practiced my signature for some reason, and she reminded me that you know, I had signed my autograph in this house in a couple places, unique places where they probably still have it. And we went down there, and lo and behold, underneath the stairs, walking to the basement, there was my signature still. So I'm sure they peeled that board off. It's somewhere now.
It's on eBay now.
Yes, yeah.
Even at age 12, you set out goals for yourself saying, I'm going to be in the World Series, I'm going to be an all-star, and I'm going to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I mean, I was 12 once. I didn't think about that. You know, was looking for the next.
Right. I think those dreams or those thoughts came in right after I really started perfecting my signature.
Okay.
So I think
so you're signing everything, and
yeah.
you're thinking someday I'm going to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. But you know, some kids can think that.
Yeah.
But you really believe that.
Yeah, I tell the guys now, you know, I work with the Astros quite a bit at home in Houston, and I tell the guys now there's so much good video and everything like that, and they ask me what I did. Well, that's what I had back then to look at Tom Seaver or Nolan Ryan. I had that Sports Illustrated, and there would be that one blown up shot of them firing the ball at home and stuff. So I was able to look at that. I've always been a good person to visualize things and be able to put them into play.
You know, because you didn't have everything handed to you, and you were running back and forth to practice, and you witnessed your mom working so hard to provide, I would imagine that's where this drive inside Roger Clemens comes from.
Well, it's from my grandmother and my mom. Just watching the heartache that they had, but they didn't complain. They continued to work extremely hard.
After Woody, Randy really became your mentor.
I would definitely agree with that. That's my brother Randy. He was a fantastic basketball player, and the reason why I wear 21. When my dad passed away, Texas became in our sights. My mom had her eye on it. Before she could get it together, she shipped me down there to live with Randy and Kathy, his wife, and they knew I loved the game of baseball, so they really started looking hard on where I was going to go to high school.
You were a good player, but not a great player until you got down to Texas.
I don't think I was very good then either, Joe. I mean, I wasn't. My junior in high school, I think I was 16. I was a young junior. And we had two guys on the team that threw extremely hard in high school, like 90 miles an hour, 91 miles an hour was hard for a high school player, especially then. Watching these two older seniors, I don't know, 15, 20 scouts. And when we got to the playoffs and they kind of wet the bed, Coach threw me in the game because I threw strikes. I didn't throw hard. I wasn't mature at all, but I had a good little curveball, and like Coach said, I could throw strikes if you turn the lights out in this place. I threw that little curve over. Because there was college scouts and professional scouts, that's how I ended up getting my, some people were grabbing me in the parking lot and saying, hey, you want to come to our junior college or our four-year school? This is what we have to offer you, books and tuition. So I started learning, okay, I got a chance to continue my education, and Mom doesn't have to pay for it.
You end up, one of these people in the parking lot when you're pitching in high school is a great coach that convinces you to go to San Jacinto Junior College.
Yeah, everyone should know the name. His name is Coach Wayne Graham. He's at Rice University now, probably definitely one of the winningest coaches in NCAA history. And I knew Coach Wayne Graham because I played against him in high school before he took that job. He was a crosstown rival. And he said, you can come play for me at San Jac, and you'll be 40 minutes from home. Take your laundry back there and get it done up. You won't be far from home. I think it's a great fit for you. And so I went and played for him. And that summer, I grew a couple inches, and I got stronger, and everything just kind of came together. And so I started developing some arm speed with that, and we had a great year. Some four-year guys started coming. I got drafted.
Drafted by the Mets, and you turn down the offer that you get of $30,000 as a non-first-round pick. You turn down money.
Yeah.
You bet on yourself.
I shed a few tears on that one after the
I mean, somebody's waving $30,000 in your face and saying, let's sign with the Mets. I mean, it's New York. And you say no. Why? I'm stunned knowing your story that you were willing to walk away from that. Why?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like out of a movie thing. I mean, they met me in a parking lot a couple of times on the hood of a car and had the contract and the little cash. I mean, it was like right out of the movies. And I'm like, you know, I'm 18. My mother's got to be a part of this, I think, to sign, you know. And they're like, yeah, we know. They were. And so then the offer went up, and they said, hey, the Mets are coming in town to play your Astros in the Astrodome. I want you to come down and throw. And I brought my own catcher from San Jacinto. I mean, he knows me the best. I said, hey, we're going to get to go throw in front of the some of the scouts are going to look at us. Nobody's really around, and I'm trying to get loose, but I'm going to try and get this thing up to 90, 90.
Well, yeah, how do you not come out of the gate trying to throw like your arm out of the socket?
And my arm hurts just thinking about it. And in the Astrodome, in this environment, if I were to start cranking it up in here, when you hear that mitt, it sounds like you're throwing 100.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, if I can whistle this thing in there and really make it look good and sound good, I'm going to get 35 grand. You know, so I start throwing, and I'm really doing well. And all my catcher starts getting nervous. He's not catching it very well. He's not catching it in the pocket to make that thing pop.
You can make a pitch sound harder than it is.
Big time. Well, he's having trouble, so I call him up, and I think he's just nervous because I'm throwing next to this guy. It's in the big leagues, and I get down there to him, and I was like, come on, dude, catch a couple in the pocket, man. I tease him like, get the can of soup out of your glove and catch a couple loud so I can, and I turn around, and on the railing is Joe Torre and Bob Gibson. Well, I look like I ran through a car wash. I start to sweat like you wouldn't believe. And I was pretty nervous, to say the least.
But you said no.
I said no, and I was just heart sick for, I couldn't tell you how long until I got to the University of Texas.
So you go to Texas with the opportunity there, but now you got to kind of build yourself back up.
Let me give props to Coach Cliff Gustafson. He was my coach there. Now, this man would tell you something, and then he wants you to act upon it. It was like, what was it, E.F. Hutton? When he talks, you listen. And that's the way he was. I mean, he knew he had a bunch of blue chippers on this team, and we're on every magazine in the country, Talented Texans. And we're talented, all right, and we are young, and we are full of ourselves, 20, 21 years old. We proceed to go out, and I think in the first series against like Pan American or UTEP or somebody like that, Calvin goes out and doesn't get out of the fifth inning. He gets rocked. I go out the next night, and I don't think I get out of the third inning. I'm backing up bases before my head's spinning. Gus proceeds to come in after that series and just tear us a new one. And he told us to go read some articles about ourselves, about how good we are. We're not very good. And he tore us up pretty good. And
well, it worked.
We get to the College World Series, and then Coach left me out there on the mound, and I was able to beat Alabama for the final game and win the national championship. And then everything really started changing.
I mean, you become a 19th overall selection by the Red Sox in '84. But as you get drafted by the Boston Red Sox, first of all, the bet on yourself works because you go from a $30,000 offer to sign in for 4 times that amount, $120,000, and you end up getting into the system with the Boston Red Sox, and that's where we all learned really about Roger Clemens as a professional
Yeah,
pitcher.
so to take you to the day that I signed, I could see my mother's hands at the table with the scout there. I'm getting ready to sign this contract, and they're going to split it up from $71,000, and then the other portion will be $50,000. And of course, we've never seen money like this. And she's wringing her hands under the table, but being super calm. I mean, I'm telling you the backstory after I notice and see it all now, but as soon as that scout left, I watched his car leave our townhome. We were in a 3-bedroom townhome, and as soon as he got off property, I took off running as fast as I could, out of the yelling and screaming, happy tears. And my mother just stood in the doorway, and I could tell, was happy. I was able to help her pay off some of her bills and get her a car, and we went on our way. Yeah.
And that's great, but now you got to go pitch. And you have to validate why they are paying you $121,000.
I go from Omaha, Nebraska, pitching in the College World Series in front of about 22,000 fans, to Winter Haven, Florida. A couple months later, there's 7 people in the stands, and I can see the guy in the red calling me a bum.
Right.
I can look up. You're a bum. He didn't like the Longhorns too much, I don't think.
It's good for you in the minor leagues. You have success. You're fulfilling what promise they had for you. But as you show up in spring training. Tell us your first spring training with the big league club.
They sent me to Fenway Park at the end of the minor league run that I had to watch a game and just get acclimated to the deal. And I leave the airport, got my head down pretty much in the cab, and he stops, 20 minutes later, and he stops. And when he stops, I'm looking out the window, and it's a brick building. And I tell the cabbie, cabbie, buddy, I'm going to Fenway Park. I'm a professional baseball player, and I'm going to Fenway Park. It's a baseball field. He goes, this is it, kid, get out.
Right.
And I look out, I just see the brick.
That's the first time you had seen Fenway.
First time I seen Fenway. I walked through all the bricks and everything underneath kind of a dungeon area. And then they walked me up the tunnel, and boom, big green monster staring right at me. I was like, wow, this is cool. So that's how I got kind of introduced. Other than my mother writing me some poems about the history.
She wrote the poems?
Yep. She sent me a little thing about where I was going and kind of looked it up and told me about Fenway and about some of the players. And
so the poems had the history of the Red Sox and Fenway Park.
What my journey was fixing to take me on.
Wow. So were you a goals guy at that point, or was it just happy to be there kind of kid?
I was ready to go. I mean, I was trying to stay focused.
It's like, hold me back.
Yeah. It was pretty intimidating walking in the locker room with the likes of, you have special instructors running around. Yaz is just finishing up. Ted's still in the locker room running around. Ted Williams, Carl Yastrzemski.
I mean, you're this kid. You're the first round pick. You show up. Now, did you show up at spring training with Sox 21 on your license plate?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was on there. Yeah, I've had a few cool license plates, yeah.
So, but I mean, that's pretty in your face.
Yeah.
As you now have been through all the wars and in the big leagues, you look back, you're thinking.
Well, what was cool was the clubhouse guy, I guess, paid attention down in Texas a little bit or watched some of the College World Series, and I was fortunate that no one had 21. And so I walked in and he had it there, so that was just super exciting for me to have. But
the rookie year is good. I mean, it's a solid rookie year in 1984.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. I mean, we got after it. I was, on a learning curve, obviously. I think I got a no decision in Cleveland, and then I won my first game in Minnesota.
You go 9-4, but your shoulder by the end of the year is barking a little bit, right?
85 more, so.
As you get into the next year, your shoulder, and now you're not putting up good numbers. And now you're, a start in July, you end up back in Anaheim in the clubhouse in tears.
Yeah, I was in the tunnel.
Because you can't do anything.
And then I said, finally, I kept telling these guys, something's not right. And I think they were puzzled because I have such a high pain tolerance that I could throw that hard and still get outs and do what I was doing. They just weren't sure what was happening. So here's the next man that's probably the most prominent in my life is Dr. James Andrews. He's in Birmingham, Alabama now. He was in one of the most famous shoulder, knee.
To this day.
To this day. Shoulder, knee, elbow guy in the country. So I flew down there with my wife, Debbie.
There's no way that you're not thinking in the back of your mind, that little voice going, is this ever going to be right?
And you're exactly right. Your career flashes in front of you. Even though my surgery is fairly minor, any surgery for a pitcher's major. So I roll into his office with my wife, Debbie, and my mother. He took my arm in a couple of directions, and boom, I came off the table. I said, that's it. He goes, I can fix you tomorrow if you want. And I was like, let's do it.
So how do you feel going into 1986?
Yeah, so I come back, and throughout the process, Dr. Andrews told me there's going to be days when you're throwing, playing catch, 40, 50 feet, and you're going to feel like I didn't fix you. And then there's going to be other days that you can throw 90 but don't. And he was dead on. I had ups and downs the whole time. I get to spring training. I'm kind of taking it easy. I got rocked in spring training. It was very disheartening. I got rocked because I just wasn't turning it loose. And I knew towards the end of spring training I was going to have to test this shoulder of mine. And I did. I came out of the gate.
I'll say
14-0, and I showed my teammates that I was healthy for the year.
Buried within the 14-0 start is a start on April 29th, 1986. You struck out 20 Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
Let's watch.
It's 2-2, not 3-2. Strike him out. Nothing in 3. Strike 3. Tied the record.
Yeah.
Clemens has set a major league record for strikeouts in a game. 20.
After the game, Bruce Hurst, my teammate, he's the one that gave me the nickname The Rocket from that game right there, and that obviously stuck. And he also said that they were going to get all the pitchers and load them up on a bus and go down to Columbus, Georgia, and see Dr. Andrews.
Right. What kind of magic does he have?
Yeah. So.
But 2 weeks later, you're on the cover of SI. You have easily one of the greatest years in the history of Major League Baseball. My God, 20 strikeout game. You're the MVP. You're the MVP of the All-Star game. You're the Cy Young. That season ends with an appearance in the World Series. This is a big deal. Boston Red Sox hadn't won still since 1918. You haven't won since your days in college. You're having this all-world year. So the infamous Game 6 at Shea Stadium against the Mets. You're up by a run. You pitch 7 strong innings, and then you get pinch hit for. So just take us through that.
I mean, I was throwing a great game. I think we're on our way. We're cruising. We're doing really well. Crazy stuff was going on. I mean, at one point they flashed on the scoreboard, "Congratulations, world champion Red Sox." I went inside to use the restroom at one point, I think in the 7th, and they got to prepare the locker room for the championship.
Oh, no, really?
And
you saw the champagne and all that?
Champagne. I got my first look at a world championship trophy. It's staring right at me when I walked in the locker room, almost like an omen. I didn't want to see it, so I peel off to the right to go to the restroom.
We know what happens next.
So the emotions from that series was unbelievable. Just because that ball went through his legs, it wasn't the reason that we lost that series. I think it helped me a lot as a professional player, the ups and downs of the emotions of our game.
How hard was that to come that close to the point when the trophy's in your clubhouse, to have it, in essence, taken away from you?
It hurts because, again, I took pride in driving in from my house in Framingham in New England, the 30-minute drive, and I would see all the license plates of the fans coming in to watch me on that day, that given day. And I would pay attention to it. I would hear it from media people that people were trying to count every 5th day when I was starting to come watch. And so you feel like a performer, and you want to do well. And when you don't, it eats at you because I'll go all the way back from how I grew up. That this is my job now. I love it, and I play it because I love the game. And I just enjoyed going to center stage, if you would. Pitching in front of all the fans and trying to do my very best to give them a break from grinding every day at work and trying to make a living, and you come to the ballpark, get you a beer and a dog, and let's go.
So you have great individual success after that, but you have the taste as a team, but then that kind of goes away. And I'm wondering how you, being the competitor that you are with what happened in '86, carry yourself forward, and what are you seeing on this team around you as the team success is not happening?
You're right. It's not a lot of fun to win 20 games or win a Cy Young Award and go home and watch the playoffs on TV. You get a little pat on the back and way to go. You had a great year, and especially where I came from, there was only one way. You win at the University of Texas. That's what you do. You win.
But now walk us through how things are ending with the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, there were some rough years. My numbers were good, and then the new GM came in, and he wanted
Dan Duquette.
Dan wanted his kind of team, I guess. And
he uses the phrase twilight of his career.
I think Duquette's line was, you don't give a 33-year-old pitcher a 4-year deal like that, and he's in the twilight of his career. Well, thank God my twilight was pretty long, because I ended up experiencing a great deal of fun on the baseball field.
So you signed with the Toronto Blue Jays, a 3-year deal in '97, and you were at your best. I mean, it's shocking how good you were with Toronto.
Yeah.
Why Toronto?
Not really. Well,
okay, not really. And you're right, because you were putting up the individual stuff, but you weren't getting wins because the team wasn't as competitive or good as it was earlier in your career.
Yeah, exactly.
You end up winning 2 Cy Young Awards with the Toronto Blue Jays. You go 41-13 in a 2-season span, but they're not a postseason threat, the Toronto Blue Jays. And the next thing you know, here I am, a New York Yankee. And immediately you're in the middle of this team that had just won in '98.
I think in spring training, what I looked around, I took a look around, start looking at my teammates that have won already in '96. And, of course, you have Joe Torre. And I think what Skip did there, what Joe did there for us was they talk about different managers I played for. Joe was a great manager for just the fact that we were pretty much on autopilot. He could fill out that lineup, and we had to start just about every position, and we were deep on the pitching staff. What Joe handled was our personalities perfectly.
Well, in the American League Championship Series that year, you take on the Boston Red Sox, and you get outpitched by Pedro Martinez at Fenway Park. That had to, and the crowd's chanting, "Where is Roger in the shower?"
They could do, they could do that a lot.
Yeah, that had to just eat you alive.
Well, it was like a title fight. You know, Pedro was awesome. I hear the comments about Pedro watching me when he was younger and watching my mechanics, and that's cool. But Pedro is one of those guys that when you match up against another number one and he's on, you can afford very few mistakes.
But the story has a great ending because you guys end up winning the LCS and you end up in the World Series against the Atlanta Braves. And not only do you get to experience it again for the first time in a long while, regular season's great, but in New York, you win in October. That's the real
Lights
stuff.
are pretty bright at that time of year, and like I said, when you have a closer like Mariano Rivera, that I said there's not too many for sure things. He's as close as you get.
Game 4, Yankees are up 3-0. You get a start. Let's take a look.
Roger Clemens is pitching with 10 days rest and 13 years of restlessness. He got to the World Series as a 24-year-old Cy Young Award winner. It's taken this long to get back. And not just any World Series stage, the mound at Yankee Stadium in the final World Series of the 20th century. And he starts the game with a strikeout. Down goes Andrew Jones, the third strikeout put in the book tonight by Roger Clemens. Halfway through, 3-0 Yanks.
Braves were loaded, so that was a good one.
37, a champion for the first time.
Yeah.
You've never been through that at the big league level.
Now to go in and take pictures with the trophy, and they had it down. Like you said, they won 96, 98, so they had it down, and there was a little players party at New York City, and it was just a ton of fun to reminisce and just look at everybody and try to pull it in.
What'd your mom say?
She was super happy. She had made up a couple brooms. She got into the moment. You know, at this part of my career and this part of my mother's life, she was coming up on some hard stages of emphysema. And so it was hard for her to breathe at this time. So I always had to make sure she didn't get overly excited, so she could stay with us.
All of a sudden, here you are in the next year, and Mike Piazza. There's no way you can sit there and I don't ask you about Mike Piazza. So that year, interleague play is coming on high, fast and furious, and when the Mets play the Yankees, it's a big deal in the regular season. Piazza takes you deep. Is it a grand slam?
I don't know. He hit it. I think he hit every off-speed pitch I threw to him.
Okay. Month later, it's rematch time, and you hit him in the front of the helmet.
I think he hit his hand first and ricocheted his helmet, but it was too far up. I was trying to come in on him. I think I hit 3 guys above the shoulders in my career. I called all 3 of them. There's only one that didn't take my call, and that was Mike. But we worked our way through that. Yeah, I mean, I never would want to miss around the guys and chance their livelihood. So,
and then the World Series, it was an all New York World Series for those of you who don't remember. You and Piazza have gone back and forth, and now you have to figure this is eventually going to boil over.
A couple other guys on the team that wanted a piece, a couple guys on the other team. So emotions and energy was running high, let alone mine. I was still a little pissed about everything that went on.
The bat shatters. You have the barrel of the bat in your hands, and you throw it.
I mean, the film here makes it look like it was right off his shoe tops, but he ended up saying that he didn't know he was, running. Basically, I tell people, if I wanted to hit him with that bat, I would have hit him with that bat.
At that time, I just remember how crazy George Steinbrenner was to win that World Series. I mean,
oh no, there's no doubt about that.
He's the most competitive owner I ever ran across, but you're now playing the crosstown Mets, and that was a different animal.
Let me say something about Mr. Steinbrenner. I didn't know him in the 70s when, Billy Martin and Reggie, and I'm sure he's probably wired for sound more so. When you have an owner that wants to win worse than a player does, I mean, you can't ask for anything more. We win this World Series. Here's the kicker on this. We win the World Series. We have a Halloween party in New York City. The guy at my buddy's place that runs the bar and the place you can go eat, he says, I want you to be a judge for our Halloween contest. I said, super. We got 3 other judges. I come rolling in there fairly late. The line's out the door. All the contest people are there, and it's Halloween. Everybody's dressed. I mean, there's, you name it, that costume's there. And about 8 deep, there's a dude dressed in a Mets uniform, 31 Piazza on the back. He's got a ball stuck to his head, and he's got a bat through him. I go, you win. I said, we know how, you're going to win. So for that guy to dress up like that. So, but like I said, I called the other guys, you know, and again, I can understand Mike not taking a phone call, but he's not the only guy hitting the big leagues. And, you know, like I said, if, I was just trying to come in on him, and it was up and in, and I hate it just as bad as he did.
2001 happens. I mean, it was one of the best World Series baseball's ever had.
The emotions, game 3.
Game 3,
I got to
game
pitch game
4.
3. We go to Arizona and get our ass handed to us, and I got to pitch game 3 at home. My buddy knows I don't like to even get near, see any newspapers, especially the day I'm going to work. And, of course, he's being funny guy. He knocks on my door on this one because it's game 3. We got to win, and we're done probably. And he's like, boy, you don't want to see the papers today. And I go, great. That's all I need to stick in my mind. And come to find out, they had the world on my back. And it said, Rocket, save our season or something. President W's there, 43. He's going to throw out the first pitch. Mr. Steinbrenner's brought back all the 300 police officers, firemen, families of lost loved ones in the attack. They're all standing underneath. They're going to walk on the field. So now I'm trying to pitch one of the biggest games of my career, and I'm looking at the stress on these people's faces when I just walk out here, and I almost can't keep it together. I'm almost kind of high-fiving people, got my head down, and I kind of dart into the weight room to get away from that scenario. Joe comes out. I'm tying my shoes. I'm about 20 minutes from going to the bullpen to warm up, and Joe's in front of me. I look up at our skipper, and he goes, I need you tonight. And I go, I got you, Skip. And he goes, no, I need you tonight. And I land up and I tease people. You know, we called him the Godfather. Like he's going to lean in. He kind of would always pat you, you know, like the Godfather. But he's going to lean in and give me a kiss. I don't want to kiss on both cheeks because I don't want to be a made man. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so we go through that.
You won game 3.
Game 4 and 5, I thought the stadium was going to fall down.
It was shaking. Our booth was shaking up above.
It was so emotional.
And then you pitch game 7. You
Crazy.
leave, and Rivera's in the ball game.
I mean, I think that's why we're so shocked, because Mo is, I mean, he's a for sure thing. So, but it was a spectacular series. The Diamondbacks won, and it was a great game 7. I pitched my heart out, and just the atmosphere you missed. And now that I'm sitting here and you're bringing back all these memories, you miss that. You miss the crowd and
you're gonna tee it up again.
Yeah, why not, guys? Yeah, no. I like my elbow and shoulder.
In 2003, you do something that had never been done in the history of Major League Baseball. You got your 300th win and your 4,000th strikeout in the same game. Talk about making it easy on family and friends to come see both in one night.
Grounded to first. This will do it. And Roger Clemens, only the 21st to pick up 300 wins. Congratulations to the Rocket.
Okay.
What does that bring back?
Well, it brings back great memories. You said it was easy on the family. I think it was you know, meant to be in the stars, I guess, because I was able to get it at Yankee Stadium, even though I was trying really hard, I think 2 or 3 times earlier on the road. And so the family was following me around. They're like, come on, do this. So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
The quote on the wall, my only day off is the day I pitch.
It is.
I believe that because of your work ethic and what you were doing in between starts. What does that quote bring up in your mind?
Well, I think about both my grandmother and my mother. I think about the comments from Coach Wayne Graham. He saw it. I think the people all close to me that know me, they've seen it. They've seen it firsthand. There are no shortcuts. There were no magic potion, no magic pills, anything like that. And like I said, I think if there's anything that that I know that you know, being It is. I mean, it's my day off. I get to kind of relax and go to a mound where I can focus and concentrate, focus on my work and my teammates, and still be able to enjoy the game that I love. I don't think there was a point, other than when I had my shoulder issue, that it was like, you know, I ever had second thoughts and guessing that maybe this is not for me. So, but that's a great little thing I said at one point.
2003 happens, and you say at the end of this World Series, you're in it against the Florida Marlins. This is going to be it. And you walk off the field. It's down. I was doing the game down in Florida, and it's, hey, goodbye,
Yeah.
Roger.
I was very content with it. I went and had a little moment in Joe's office, and everybody had, you know, MLB was there and a bunch of guys. Everything that I took off, I was signing, and they were putting stickers on, and I was done.
But you weren't. You came back, and you came back to the hometown Houston Astros.
I did.
I don't want to gloss over the last couple of years of your career, but 2004 with the Astros, it was a good team. It was a playoff team. You win your seventh Cy Young at the age of 42. You're doing things at a later stage in your life than anybody had ever witnessed. Your mother passes away while you're pitching for the Houston Astros, and this woman who did everything is gone and out of your life, and yet you pitch that night. That's a lot.
It was a lot. I was in Austin with her, and the doctors basically told us this is it. She's going to pass on over, and you know, I gave her a kiss on the cheek. She said a couple things. I don't think she was right of mind, but I was supposed to throw that night, and I knew she would want me to pitch. And so I drove back, and I sat in my locker for a while. I actually get dressed. I got a secondary locker back away from everybody, and I dressed back there and just sat there and thought about it. And again, it was real hard. Early in the game, it was real difficult. And but I pitched, and I tried to get everybody's mind off of what was happening, but it was good, and she got to see a lot. I tell people that she had one of her best nights, and I had Reggie Jackson and Muhammad Ali in the box with her, and her favorite person on earth, not her son, is George Strait. So if she had George Strait up there,
that would have been it.
She could have gone right then.
Okay.
That would have been perfect for her.
You retire again after 05, and then the Yankees come calling yet again, and this is in season.
Thank you all. Well, they came and got me out of Texas, and I can tell you it's a privilege to be back. I'll be talking to y'all soon.
Roger Clemens from George Steinbrenner's owner's box just announced to the stadium crowd that he is coming back. So I guess they got him to come back a little bit sooner than he said he was going to. And now I guess the Yankees have themselves a fourth starter.
Your 24th season, you go 6-6, and you literally limp away at the end of that season.
We got to the playoffs. That was the key. I mean,
you helped get them to the postseason.
Well, I wasn't. I mean, like you said, I was pitching. I was trying to hold down the fourth, fifth slot, but also trying to be who I am in the clubhouse amongst some other great ones that know how to lead by example in the clubhouse, and keep it fun for everybody, and keep everybody lighthearted and focused on, you know, why we're there.
You retire again in 2006, but this time for good. Now we get to 2007, and what has to be discussed on a show like this is the Mitchell Report comes out, which was Major League Baseball's investigation into the depth of the problem of performance-enhancing drugs in Major League Baseball. And you are mentioned 82 times in this Mitchell Report. And you are accused of using performance-enhancing drugs. And now you're finished playing, but you're busier than ever having to deal with the accusations.
Yeah, so I think if I didn't have family or my sisters and the tight-knit that everybody's kind of heard a little bit about, is that I've probably told everybody, excuse my language, to go shit in their hat. You know, that's what I should have, that's what I really like to do now that I know what I know. But, you know, it's shameful. I mean, what Mitchell did, I've passed every test. I opened up my life to them. I told them, come check whatever you want. They spent a lot of our taxpayers' dollars. We did it the right way. We wanted to deal with facts, and we dealt with facts. And we found out just through spending a little money about who these people are and who these accusers are that came into our lives.
One of which was Brian McNamee.
I don't even want to mention his name because it makes me sick to my stomach, because like I told y'all, I look for the good in people. I don't think people are trying to get into my life. Yeah. I don't look at people like they're trying to get what I know now, but what I knew then. So I'm telling you what I know now, that I find out people had an agenda, and they're looking to be somebody that they're not. And I think that was the difficult part. What I know now is I should have set my wallet on the table, because that's all it was about money. I'd like to find out that if Waxman had a referral fee from Mitchell. I think Mitchell got paid, before my name got put in there, I think he got paid close to $40 million. From what I understand, there's more than a handful of players in that report. That was not true about them, but their guy said, don't fight it. So, of course, I thought about that too. Heck with them. I care less. They can say whatever they want. It was nothing short than a Jerry Springer show. I mean, it was... I was on guard at Congress because they were going to try and throw trick questions at me. I was trying to listen to every question I possibly can. I did everything they asked me to do. And on some fronts, it still wasn't good enough.
Now you're in a criminal trial with your attorney, Rusty Hardin. You're fighting lying charges, perjury charges, and that can end up in jail time.
Yeah.
And you were facing, if the judgment is against you, jail time. The first trial ends up in a mistrial, the second one acquittal.
Which was a shit show in itself. I mean, I think once you found out all the people on their side that we proved that were lying, and then they knew they were in trouble, and they basically forced a mistrial, you would think that that would have been the end of it.
What about the Andy Pettitte quote about him saying that you told him you had taken performance?
That's right. And Andy got up there and cleared that right up. He said, and of course I got berated about that. I said, I believe Andy misremembered, and they acted like I guess that was never in the dictionary. They took and ran with that. So, but we know we've closed the chapter on that. I don't worry about that.
But here's the problem with regard to the Hall of Fame. And when they started asking you, I know you got hot about it. You said, you know, they can kiss my ass.
Pretty much.
But if you believe it was a witch hunt, if you believe this was, you know, whatever it was, significant influential people in the game, writers, people who determine who are going into the Hall of Fame, don't believe you, therefore you're not in the Hall of Fame. Does that bother you?
I can't control it one bit. I have zero control over that, Joe. The press conference you're talking about, I was going in there to answer some pointed questions, and it went right to the Hall of Fame, and that's why it turned sour for me. I didn't play the game of baseball to make the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame's not going to define my career. So I love it that the guys go in and they're part of their fraternity and whatever. But it's not. I played the game. That's what I did. It's not who I am. That guy out there. That was my job. I worked extremely hard at it. I took pride in it. I did it the right way. I respected it.
And to make the conversation more not about you, but about the Hall of Fame in general, there's a very arbitrary process now that's going on, because there are people who have used PEDs who are going to get into the Hall of Fame. I mean, let's be honest. It's got to happen just by sheer...
So by you saying that, you don't think there's anyone in there right now that has?
No, I personally do. And so my point is, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, your percentage has grown over the last 3 years. You're under 50%, but it's gone up every year the last 3 years. It seems like people, fans, maybe eventually writers, are going to have to look at this era in a different light. Now, taking you out of it, it does seem like there have to be some that are already in that have used steroids, and there will be some that go in the future. If you're going to be arbitrary with the selection process, either let them all in or lock the doors and don't let anybody in for the rest of time. You agree with that or no?
Well, I agree. I think if you're a Hall of Famer, you go in the first ballot and it's all good. I mean, you're either a Hall of Famer or you're not.
You're not winning any more games the next year.
That's right. You're not going to win any games. You're not hitting any more home runs. But like I said, I'm to the point right now where, I mean, I say it, but I probably don't mean it. But I wouldn't even, if it happened, the joy of it's gone.
Don't say you don't want to go in. Don't.
I'm not going to say that, but I'm just going to tell you the luster will. I'm worried about it, but the luster would. The luster would not be the same.
It'd
It's
be a
like
special
you're
day for
doing
you.
me a favor all of a sudden. Don't do me any favors, really. If you feel like it, do it. But don't do me any favors.
We'd like to end this show. We'd like to end this show with what's next for you. There's no way you're coming back and pitching, right? I mean, can we just? I feel like I'm looking at Brett Favre or something. Are you coming back?
No.
Okay.
I can't.
So what's next for you?
Well, I've been super busy. Like I said, I need to unretire to retire. I mean, I just let my former club, the Red Sox, auction me off for batting practice at Fenway Park for the Jimmy Fund.
So you can bid on trying to get batting practice with Roger Clemens at Fenway Park.
And if you stood, I'm a little wilder now, so it only hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, it
I'll be
just
Piazza.
leaves. Well, you don't want to be him.
No.
It leaves a little mark.
Yeah.
Ice. I'm good with ice. Ice still agrees with me.
Okay.
But no, I lay pies in there, and these guys get a swing to hit the ball off the monster.
Right.
And
What are you, 54 now?
I just threw a game. I threw a game in Wichita, Kansas, with some bunch of ex-major leaguers, and thank goodness I got through that. But I got the ball up there. I think I was still about 88, 89. But I got my son. I came back actually and pitched for an independent team at home in Houston. I had my son catch me, which was the first combination of father-son playing in a professional game. So that was really cool for me too. So we're having a good time with it. I mean, we do that, the charity stuff that we're doing, the golf. We're trying to stay busy and just living life. I love doing stuff for other people. I still enjoy doing that because I know where I came from. And I think if I didn't, that's where the frown would come upon my life from my mother and grandmother, because they know.
We end the show with fun questions. Ready? Here we go.
What, the other ones weren't fun?
No, they were. Would you rather go back in time to meet your ancestors or to the future to meet your descendants?
I think I'd like to go back in time to learn more about where I came from. Yeah, because I would love to have the opportunity to, not that far back, but have somebody like being able to throw to Yogi Berra or Johnny Bench, or to meet Cy Young. Yeah.
Would you rather be able to fly or turn invisible?
Man. Well, sometimes turn invisible.
I thought that might be where you go. Would you rather be caught singing in the shower or crying at a movie?
Well, since you got me here earlier, and I heard you back there, and I wasn't going to cry, and then you throw a picture of my pops up there on me right out of the gate and get my voice cracking. You know what? I've got a fly-by name at night called DJ No Request. I do a little DJing at night.
Yeah.
Nobody
How
knows
about
about
that? He's a DJ.
So you catch. I know everybody's going to be watching this that knows me, and we have a karaoke room at the house, and so singing in the shower.
Singing in the shower.
Yeah.
DJ No Request means that when people make requests, he's like, yeah, I got that. But he never plays anything anybody wants.
I play what I want to play.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a guy who grew up in Dayton, Ohio, later moved to Texas, was shaped by his mother and his grandmother, went on to win 7 Cy Young Awards, most all time. He's a 2-time world champion. Ladies and gentlemen, the Rocket, Roger Clemens.